Then,
Yes. Yes, I
all
think
right,
yeah, perfect.
good.
So, Amar Bakshi, you have participated in the 2018 conference with Thanks for Nothing, What I Can Learn from You, What You Can Learn from Me. So it's been 2 years now. What has happened since? Do you have any new projects, or just present yourself a little bit so
Sure.
you know what has happened?
Sure. So as you know, I'm an artist and I run shared studios. And we have a network of interconnected gold shipping containers and other spaces around the world that connect to one another and are staffed by local curators, we call them, local community managers. And every site connects to every other one. And we have them from a refugee camp in Iraq to a tech hub in Yangon and Gaza to a modern art museum in Mexico City. And we have about 45 of them around the world and more than 75 curators. And so since I came to you, that network has grown in its scope and breadth and diversity. And our mission as an organization is to encourage people to embrace others who are unlike themselves. And the way we do it is through programming across this diverse network, and also by creating these immersive environments that take technology that is at our fingertips and imbue it with a new meaning that make it special. So that's really been what we've been doing, building our capacity to organize distributed events, shared meals, artist collaborations, um, on the one hand, and then developing the experience design, the technology, and the structure. And now at this moment with COVID, um, we really are taking both of those core abilities and pushing further. On the technical, humanizing technology side, we are creating little kits that you can send to cultural institutions, museums, and homes even, where when you set them up, you can make eye contact and be even a full body presentation virtually. And then on the curatorial side, we are connecting all our curators around the world to organize events daily, global poetry slams and so forth. So that's sort of where we are now. And I guess just one last point I'd make is I think that at this moment, we have something historic where everyone on Earth is basically experiencing and enduring the same moment. But there's also an enormous push, temptation, desire to use this moment to say, let me hunker down in my own community and keep out everyone else. Let me turn against global interconnection and let me use technology, just to see the news I want to see or follow the people I want to follow. And what I believe that artists do and that we do at Shared Studios is encourage people to break out of that, to uh, to see the opportunity of interconnection. Um, and I think that that's more important than ever because we could emerge from this more tribal and balkanized than we were before. We could return in some way, shape, or form to where we were, which was headed in that direction. Or we can use this moment of common experience to actually deepen our ability to function with others unlike ourselves. So that's probably 5 minutes right there, but hopefully that answers some of what you had on your list.
Yes, that's perfect. I guess that in in the current situation, this project of connecting people is very important because we're all stuck at home,
Yeah.
and that's also something very, very interesting because you created something to connect people from all over the world, and here we are, we're doing the same right now,
Yeah.
and in a completely different situation.
Yeah.
I think it's very interesting.
Yeah. One of the things about portals that was always so powerful is that you had to step outside your house and go to a public space and interact with human beings, often human beings in your own community you wouldn't otherwise meet. And then you walk through a threshold and around a little bend, kind of like when you enter even a museum exhibit, you see the
Yeah.
wall, but you usually go around something. There's this moment of reflection and passage. And so all of that was part of the experience of portals, the deliberate nature of it. And then you enter this space, which is actually, it's very darkened, but the screen where the other human is very bright. And I think it alluded to a lot of the ceremony that surrounds religion or cultural exhibit. And it prepared you to have a really powerful experience with someone because it took you outside your everyday. One of the challenges, but opportunities of being at home is, no one, the screens, the way they're currently set up, and the fact that we're at home make experiences ripe for distraction. You're looking at your phone and you're texting, and you're not present in any particular moment, and a screen is not likely to do it. So, but a lot of the same challenges of, how do you set up the experience? What do you tell people to do to get them in the right space? A lot of what we've built over the past 5 years actually applies really well here. And sometimes little things like, this isn't anything genius, but make a cup of tea, come down, be prepared to discuss what you made as your tea and show something that's in your background, at least like begins to transition the mental space people are in, so that when they enter this experience, we can guide them more productively into something deep and moving, and they can have these encounters. And so, we just had this global poetry festival. Well, it's still going on, but I don't even know all the artists, but just really beautiful poets talking about their traditions from Milwaukee to Gaza to Kazakhstan. And it was just a gorgeous event to watch and to be a part of. And unlike portals where that happens for 2 or 3 people, maybe 10 total, here we had 400 people on, and there's always a risk with that. People tune out and so forth. But I think we really captured something quite powerful, and it's just the beginning. But, what live virtual experiences can we create that actually move people? And that's what we're working on.
Well, that sounds great for the future as well. I had one last question. The first time that you entered a portal, what did you think? Like, what were the thoughts, the feelings that you had?
Well, I mean, I built the first one in my, in Washington, D.C. And as I was building it, I had no idea what exactly it would. I knew I wanted it to feel like one continuous space, that when you enter it, you feel like you're in the same space as somewhere else. And I ended up making a lot of decisions that for me made it very cozy. The whole thing is carpeted. The light is warm. The light levels are low. And when I first entered, though, and it was live, and I was talking to a stranger, I realized how uncomfortable that makes me. And how I'm one of those people who really, I don't talk to strangers on the bus. I do listen to podcasts. I do try to avoid interaction that I can't control or don't expect. And so when Portals was finally live and I was connected, it was clearer to me that a lot of why I did this was for myself. Realizing there was this lack in my life where there wasn't the context, and I wasn't pushing myself to have those conversations across distance, to overcome those initial
comfort zone, I guess.
Exactly. Yeah. So I created a comfortable space within which I could do it, and it was still anxiety provoking, and I still get anxious when I enter portals. And one of the things that's so interesting now that we've had 500,000 people come through is our curators, the people who run portals, are actually very different from me. They love talking to strangers. They're the ones who, go into the room and everyone lights up and they tell the great stories. And I'm not that person. And as I kind of look at it, I don't know what the ratio is, but there are some people who have that ability. And all we're really doing is finding them and connecting them to one another so they can do what they do locally on a global scale. And that's ultimately all we are. The technology changes, it comes and goes, it's irrelevant. It's about the human organization and the shared context and purpose. And that's both where art is so valuable, because it allows a lot of space within which these curators can operate. And which is where the human community matters the most, and not all the other stuff that will continue to change.
Yeah, because that's the only constant thing.
Yeah, and we think like the job of a teacher or a librarian, right, has been built over the past hundreds of years, if not, well, librarian hundreds of years, teachers longer. Let me rephrase that. Both of them for quite a long time. But it's been with the goal of organizing human knowledge and conveying it and encouraging people to embrace it. And that component of both professions is a little bit more recent, Enlightenment post, to encourage people to live a life that embraces knowledge as a source of joy and a first order good. It's good in itself to live and be an intelligent, educated human being. And that tribe of educators, of librarians, of academics, of even artists, well, artists is different, but they're all trying to get people to embrace a life of knowledge as a good in of itself. Same thing with artists and curators. They're trying to encourage people to embrace beauty and as a good in itself, to embrace that way of being in the world where it's not always about what can you get, but rather what is it that you are a part of, that you're witnessing, and I think with what we're building with our network of curators is a human community that's devoted to encouraging people to embrace human difference, and that in after the Enlightenment you needed this community to build the foundation of support for the dissemination of human knowledge. And in this interconnected moment, now more than ever, I think we need a human community that's dedicated to encouraging people to embrace difference and see human difference as a source of good and opportunity and as a first order good. That the world is better because you can engage people unlike yourself. Your life would be poorer if you couldn't.
Yeah.
And that's actually like our core argument as an organization. And it's an argument that COVID puts a particular test to, but I see this work as, there are many allies in this work. Art institutions are very important ones. But I also see this as something that takes decades and hopefully centuries, if we're around that long as a species, not just months, not just years.
Yeah, it takes much more time than that.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Well, perfect. Thank you very much for
Of course.
sharing your ideas.